Professor Debbie Willison. So Debbie is a member of faculty here at the University of Strathclyde, originally from the chemistry department, has a long and distinguished career with us in chemistry that Debbie will tell us a little bit about at the start, but you'll probably most likely know her from having chaired these conferences for a number of years and founding them originally. You'll tell us a bit about the history of that as well. But in the last couple of years, Debbie has been seconded to a number of roles, senior roles at Strathclyde, looking at learning and teaching across the entire university. And last year was appointed our first Professor of Learning and Teaching, which is very exciting. But you've maintained a strong and active interest in chemistry outreach and education, and you're going to tell us today about the past, the present, and the future of the outreach that we've done here at Strathclyde. So I'll give you that.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and it's great to be here speaking to you all. It's lovely to see so many familiar faces, but also some new faces as well. So as Patrick said, I'm going to talk a little bit about one aspect of my career at Strathclyde, something I'm really passionate about, which is outreach. And I've been at Strathclyde for a very long time. And I actually used this slide when I was asked to speak at a graduation ball one year, and afterwards a student came up and said to me, "Debbie, which one was you?" I'm not in this picture, but I have been here a long time, and I actually started at Strathclyde 40 years ago, straight from school as a technician. And as a technician, I had to do an ONC and an HNC at the time, and you could stop at that stage, but I chose to go on, and I became a graduate of the Royal Society of Chemistry over a number of years. So associations with the RSC from an early stage. I then did a PhD part-time in organometallic chemistry, and then moved on to the academic staff and was given the title of scientific officer. Not really sure what that means back then, but that's when I started my teaching career. It was during that period that my then head of department, the late Dick Petherick, asked me to do outreach, and that was the remit that he gave me, do outreach, and that's something that started then and has continued through my other roles as academic coordinator before becoming director of teaching in chemistry for a long time, and then moving more into a faculty role as associate dean looking after learning enhancement, and my current role is as vice dean academics, so I've got responsibility for the learning and teaching across the 5 departments in Strathclyde in the science faculty. But outreach has been a key part of what I've done over all of this time. So when I was asked to do outreach, the things that I wanted to look at was to coordinate the activity. There wasn't a huge amount of activity back then, but individuals were doing different things, but we didn't really know what they were doing. People weren't talking about it. So it was to coordinate that activity, but also to create new opportunities. And while there's a number of us interested in outreach, we do have a day job. We have to teach, we have to do administration, I'm sure you do too, we have to do research. So we have to fit this in along with all of our other tasks. So I wanted to develop a strategy about outreach. And one of the things that I wanted was that whatever we did had to have a value proposition. Yes, we wanted to enthuse and excite students, but we wanted it to have a purpose for Strathclyde. So we targeted secondary school students with the hope that we would encourage them to come and study chemistry at university. That's not to say that we wouldn't look at other students in primary or even earlier, but only when we had the resource. We also wanted to be measured about it, and some of the things that I've developed and introduced, you'll see, are things that are transferable to other colleagues, so that colleagues could get involved in outreach to the level that fitted with their timescales, so they didn't have to invent new things. And the other thing was I was given no money, so you'll just do outreach, but there's no budget. And we've moved from a very small team, me, to actually a very large team now, and I would think that almost everyone in chemistry now is involved in outreach to some extent, and I'll say a bit more about what we're doing at a faculty level too. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've introduced over the years. Most of them are continuing, but the first one unfortunately is not, and I don't know if anybody in the room's old enough to remember, but does anyone remember why chemistry? No, just me. So this was something that was back in the 90s. Universities would have a week-long residential programme for school pupils around S3, S4. I first got involved in this at St Andrews, where I went as the Strathclyde representative, and I put on an experiment for the students there. St Andrews is quite a small town, quite safe, and the students used to go out into the town at night after the classes were finished. In '99, we had Y Chemistry at Strathclyde, and it was challenging because I didn't want those students to disappear into Glasgow. And I actually went on holiday just after Y Chemistry here, and my husband found me walking about at 2 o'clock in the morning, sleepwalking with an imaginary folder under my arm looking for students. So it was a bit stressful, but I think it was useful because we had 100 students at that, and 25 of them, not all to do chemistry, came to Strathclyde. But with checks on people and the fact that we've got now more MSCs and our accommodations full throughout the year, Y Chemistry has had to go. We also introduced women into science. That no longer runs, and it's probably not appropriate any longer, but I'll tell you about something that has replaced that. We created a teachers advisory board where we got local teachers to come in and talk to our first year teaching team just to make sure that transfer from school to university was smooth. We also ran sessions and guidance for UCAS admissions so that teachers could support the students in writing their personal statements. And we also participate in the Nuffield programme where school pupils can come in and do research projects within the university. This is way back as well, CSYS. When I first started, we were supporting the projects that students were doing in their 6-year studies. That quickly moved into advanced higher investigations, and we still do this through a group of our master's students who are doing in-house placements in their 4th year. We support schools' careers days and science festivals and still go out to schools to do that, but more and increasingly more popular is for groups to come into the university, and I actually think that's more beneficial to your pupils because they see the scale of our labs and lecture theatres and get a feel for what university's like. We still run work experience weeks for students, and personally I've worked with the SQA in curriculum development, and for a number of years I was a vetter for the advanced higher. And you've heard a bit about top of the bench already, we've been involved in that for many years. And I introduced chemistry at work where students are exposed to chemistry in the everyday environment back in '99. UWS in Glasgow wanted to be involved, and rather than have 3 competing events, we now still run that on a rotating basis. We also introduced lab sessions for students, and this is where we wanted to try and make these experiences transferable. So we have a lab for senior pupils where they come in and identify an unknown organic compound through a series of tests and some spectroscopic data. This has everything prepared for it, including the manual for the students and a manual for staff, and any member of staff can come in for the hour-and-a-half-long lab session, do what they need to do, and then go back to their everyday job. So rather than me running these now, lots of members of staff have been involved in these, and we've got one for younger pupils where they make slime and stalactites and stalagmites and so on. We also offer training and CPD courses. When the advanced higher was first introduced, there was a number of different topics that experienced teachers just hadn't been exposed to when they were doing their degree. So we did training there. The local councils got involved and coordinated that for us, and we travelled around Scotland putting on various training courses. When Curriculum for Excellence was introduced, we also put on courses where we had created some cheap and easy to run practical experiments, taking some practical chemistry and relating that to the theory in the Curriculum for Excellence. And of course, we introduced the West of Scotland meeting for teachers of chemistry. Now, we weren't the first, the St Andrews meeting was a year ahead of us, but that prompted teachers in the west of Scotland to say to me, it'd be quite good to have something local. St Andrews is great, but it's quite a distance away. Could we have something in the west? So I had introduced this in 2001. I wanted it to be at a different time from St Andrews, so they'd already bagged the summer, we got January, but I wanted them to be at different times so that teachers could attend both if they wanted, and I also wanted to have two very different types of speakers or very different programmes so that there was no overlap. So I dug back in my files and I found the programme from the inaugural meeting of the first West Scotland meeting in the 24th of January back in 2001, and you can see the programme here. And the first one, for those of you who are ex-Strathclyders, Dr Billy Kerr, a colleague in chemistry. He's now Professor Billy Kerr. He's a Deputy Associate Principal, but he's still heavily involved in teaching chemistry. Fran MacDonald was a colleague who worked at Glasgow Academy. Fran's now retired, but I see that she's an education consultant over at GCU. And Christine Davidson, who is one of my colleagues who I work closely with. If you were here last year, you would have heard from Christine because she talked a bit about one of our projects then, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Douglas, I think, is retired. He was at the Faculty of Education in the Edinburgh University, and Colin was the Education Officer at the RSC and is now the Education Manager. And the only person I couldn't trace any information about was Susan. Susan Armstrong was a colleague from Glasgow University. But you can see that it was all presentations in that first run through, and it wasn't until 2010, based on the feedback from teachers, that you really wanted to get into the lab, which is when we introduced the practical sessions, and that was so well received, we've continued with that. And then in 2018 I handed over into Patrick's capable hands. But when I found this inaugural programme, I also found the list of the people who came to that first meeting. And one person who was at that first meeting is in the room today. So, I just want to say thanks for sticking with us. And here's looking forward to 20 more karaoke. So, what did we get out of all of this? Well, we've had a huge growth in those involved in outreach in the department, and I think that has been really positive. We also started to track what we were actually doing, and annually we interact with over 100 schools. We interact with over 200 teachers and nearly 2,500 pupils. That's really quite stark statistics. And that's what we know about, because I've still got colleagues who are not that keen to tell you about their contacts because they're quite protective of them. I'm hoping that we're continuing to enthuse and excite your pupils. And now that I've got a faculty role, we've got an outreach group, and last year we had the first Science at Strathclyde week. It's not residential, so we're all getting to go home and get some sleep, but this is an event where pupils get the chance to try a bit of science in each of our 5 departments. And the next Science at Strathclyde will take place in June this year. We've also established the Strath Science Scouts, and you can see the website there. And this is a mix of undergraduate and postgraduate students who are willing to go out into schools and undertake any sorts of activities that you would like them to. Currently we've got just over 200 students signed up in the programme, so if that's something that you're interested in engaging with, then just go onto the website or get in touch with myself. And we've just recently introduced or launched our Widening Access brochure. I've only got one copy of this, but it's on our website, but it runs to almost 50 pages, and it covers all the activities that Strathclyde does across the whole institution about getting pupils into university, helping them through and helping them out. It's colour coded, so for science, which is green, you can see all the activities which are relevant to science, but as I said, it covers all subject areas, so that's something that's maybe worth accessing as well for you and all of your colleagues in schools. So those activities have all been established, and I'm not quite as involved in those as I have been in the past, but as I said, there's a capable team in chemistry that are doing that. What I want to do now is just tell you a bit about some more recent work that I've been involved in, which has been supported by the RSC. Christine Davidson, that I mentioned before, and myself worked on the Analysing Soils in Scotland project, 2017 to 2018. How many of you were involved in that? Was anyone in the room? Okay, that's great. I'm not going to say too much about the science, because if you were here last year, Christine talked about the science. But what I'm going to do is just run through how we ran the project, because it's relevant for a current project that we're running. So we wanted it to be a national project. We wanted to try and reach as many schools as we could, and we wanted to target the broad general education group of pupils. We didn't want to go for funding until we knew that there was some interest, so we wrote to all the schools in Scotland, and we got about a quarter of them coming back saying, yeah, we would be quite interested in this project. And we followed it through with that 99 schools who received monthly project newsletters. And out of those 99, 43 schools eventually submitted samples from their school grounds for analysis. We sent out a lesson plan with associated activities and games to schools in September, and we also offered the support of student ambassadors to deliver that lesson plan. However, no one took us up on that, so we're assuming that teachers were comfortable doing that themselves. We then sent out a protocol and a sampling kit in October, and then once we received the samples back, we had students in their final year research project analysing those samples for copper, lead and zinc over a number of months. The newsletter that we sent out each month gave an update on progress. It gave profiles of the students working on the project, and it also gave details of a poster competition that was run across all of the schools participating. In early June, we prepared a short report with the results for that school alone, which was sent out to schools, and we also sent out questionnaires to students, to teachers and their students, asking for feedback on the resources, and we didn't get a huge response to that, and I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. The winning teams from each school were invited to a grand environment day, and we had some guest speakers who judged the posters, and there was prizes for the top three. And in actual fact, no pupil walked away empty-handed. We had enough funding to give everybody something to go away with. And then we've created a final report which gave us a kind of heat map of these metals across Scotland. And some of the teachers involved have said that they continue to use that paper for data analysis. And if that's something that you'd be interested in receiving a copy of, I'll leave some of my cards at the front. Please get in touch and we can send you a copy of that. So what were our conclusions? Well, there was a wide range of copper, lead and zinc concentrations found across the schools in Scotland, and we were fortunate enough to be out in the islands, at the Highlands, right all the way down to the borders, but almost all fell within typical soil guideline values. Not surprisingly, there was a difference between urban areas and the more rural areas, but there was no indication of any serious risk to human health. And this is the winning team with our teacher Kirsty Grimes from St Ambrose High School, along with Professor Ian Stewart from the BBC, and I have to say that my colleague Christine was quite starstruck. So she enjoyed that. But the conclusions from the project, we hope we stimulated interest in environmental issues. It gave the pupils a chance to interact nationally, but exploring chemistry at a local level, because the soil samples were from their own schools. Demonstrate career opportunities, both through our newsletters and through the Environment Day. Develop employability skills, because they were working in groups and doing a sort of fairly substantial project over a long period of time, which is what we would expect in the world of work, and give them opportunities that they would normally not have access to. And that's just some feedback from the teachers and their pupils. And what I maybe should say is that one of the schools that participated was a special needs school, and we were really pleased that they could participate. So taking all of the learning from that project, we were lucky enough to be given further funding to do a second project, which is currently in train, around the global challenges of clean water. I'm working with Christine again, Fraser, who you've heard from earlier, and Fraser Cameron and Julia, the 2 student interns who are working with us on this. And this is all based around the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Strathclyde University signed up to the SDG Accord last year, so we're committed to improving things in this area, and particularly about introducing the SDGs through our curriculum. And for this project, we're obviously concentrating on SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. So why does the SDG cover both of those? Well, in terms of water, these statistics are a bit old now, but they've improved slightly, but not enough. But 1/3 of children have no access to safe drinking water at school, so that's really quite a shocking statistic. And why is it about sanitation as well? Well, there's billions of people in the world that don't have proper sanitation. And while chemists and engineers can do things about that, we also need policymakers and business people to make business cases to work together to try and solve these issues. And another reason why we wanted to introduce this was because it appears in the GTC Professional Standards Framework. Teachers should develop deep, critically informed professional knowledge and understanding in learning for sustainability, and we wanted to try and support them to do that through this project. So we wanted to provide pupils with the opportunity to do something at a local context, so again, getting them to look at water samples in their own schools. We wanted them to develop reflective skills, but also to recognise that none of us can solve these problems alone. We really need to work together in teams to do that. We wanted them to develop the academic skills that will give them the confidence to feel that they have a role in tackling these problems. The employability skills and career opportunities, again, are a similar theme to the last project. So we have got those who are involved to look at some of the general characteristics of water in their schools, and then send those samples into us where we're going to test them for cadmium, copper and lead. We had a launch event last year and 59 teachers attended that, and there was wine and nibbles, so Stephen, you're right, sometimes that works. To date, 20 of those schools have submitted water samples for analysis, but we're not finished yet. So here's an outline of how we're going about this project. The launch event was something that we didn't do for the SOIS project, and we wanted to get teachers into the room to explain to them why the next step is so important. For these projects, the RSC really want us to evaluate them, and that's why we want to get teachers and the pupils' opinions about what they think of the resources. So we prepared a pre-project questionnaire, and I have to say the response to that has not been fantastic. We've only had about 6 schools respond, and maybe over coffee we can talk about what the barriers are to that. But then we're kind of following the same pattern, and I'm just going to point out that the samples are currently being analysed, and if you want to get involved, you're not too late. If you want to get involved in this project, we could send you all of the information that's already gone out, and we can send you a sampling kit. So please, again, if you take a card, let me know if you want to get involved in this project. We can send you all the back newsletters, and we've got one just ready this week, which is probably going to go out tomorrow. And we're going to launch our poster competition next month. And this time, we're going to introduce some guidance. The posters that we got last time were a bit variable, and I think if we give some guidance, we might get some better posters. And then we're going to issue a post-project questionnaire to try and gauge how the teachers and pupils feel that they've benefited from the project. One thing that we didn't do the last time as well is that we're happy to welcome school visits at any time of the year as we go through the project, and we can talk about whatever aspects that could be, to see the equipment that we use or to do something else. Just need to get in touch with us. The speakers for our Global Challenges of Clean Water Day will be announced in April, and we want to make sure that we've got some local speakers, some national speakers and some global speakers, so again showing the breadth of this project. And that's a change. When we did the Soils project, we couldn't organise the event until September, and your pupils had moved on to the next year, and that made it problematic. So everything's going to be done in the 1 year this time. There'll be prizes for the top posters, and again a final report and results will be sent to the schools. So I'd just like to finish about something that's not directly related to schools but hopefully will be in the future, and this is a new online elective class for our undergraduate students, which is going to launch on Monday. I'm the class coordinator for this, and the class is called Multidisciplinary Perspectives of Sustainable Development, and it's a unique class at Strathclyde. It's something that we've never done before because it's had inclusion of all 4 faculties, and we've never done anything like that before. We've decided to concentrate on these 4 SDGs, 3, 6, 10 and 13, because that then leaves us the opportunity to do more of them in a series of classes as we move forward. And the structure of the classes is that it's all online, so there is no timetabling issues, because if we're trying to recruit students from across all 4 faculties, that could be a bit of a nightmare. The students will be put into multidisciplinary groups, and they will need to work through each of these SDGs. And each SDG has a member from each faculty talking about how their research inputs into supporting that SDG. And I'm just looking at Fraser at the back because he and I both did videos for separate SDGs, and I'm not really want to look at this video because we will. It's not nice to see yourself on film, and you have to review these things, so it's quite challenging. But the videos, I have to say, I've been totally inspired by some of my colleagues, and the class hasn't run yet, so I want to see how it goes through. But once we finish, I would like to try and make those available to you, because I think they're quite short and sharp, and I think they could be really useful to you. So this online SDG module is about helping students to develop their knowledge and understanding about the SDGs, but from a multidisciplinary perspective. So again, it's this idea that scientists can't solve this alone, engineers can't solve it alone, policymakers, we need to work together to come to solutions. And we want to help them develop agency and help them to recognise that this is their problem. It's all our problems. We all need to work towards solving it. So that's what we're doing currently. What next? Well, the Clean Water project will be completed, so we're still in the middle of that, and if you want to get involved, that would be fantastic. The SDG elective that I've just mentioned, that doesn't have an exam associated with it, which is normal in universities, and we've asked the students to create an educational resource, so that was quite a challenge getting that past colleagues who didn't feel so comfortable with that. But those educational resources, I'm hoping, will be suitable for your use. So again, when we get to that stage, I'll share that information with you. Education Scotland provide funding, and Fraser and I put a bid in to try and do all of these things. We were unsuccessful, I suspect partly because all of these things were probably taking up all of the funding that was on offer, and we were maybe a wee bit too ambitious. So we're going to go back when the funding window opens again, and try and maybe do parts of these things in a staged process. But really it's over to you guys. What do you want us to do? What would you like to work on? And I'd love to hear your ideas. Just like to finish by thanking a few people, Christine and Fraser, who I work closely with in a number of different areas. The list of names you see there are the student interns who have worked on the recent projects. Alex Clooney is a technical colleague who does the ICP-MS analysis for us. The Royal Society of Chemistry for their financial support over a number of years. I've not listed the colleagues in the department and faculty because they're too numerous to mention. Patrick for this invitation and for keeping the flag going with this meeting. And finally, thanks to you for your input over the last 20 years and for your attention today. Thanks a lot.